TSA agent harasses black man at airport. Then the DHS secretary appears. The TSA agent's smile did not reach his eyes as he directed Marcus Brooks toward the body scanner yet again. Marcus stood tall in his tailored navy blazer, leather portfolio in hand, returning from consulting work. Agent Dale Hawkins, a longtime TSA veteran, called him back after clearing him twice already. Other passengers flowed through, white, Latino, Asian, but Marcus was the only one rescanned. Dale's pat-down was theatrical, loud enough for the crowd to hear. "Just doing my job, sir. Can't be too careful these days." Marcus remained silent, his jaw tight, eyes forward, his first-class boarding pass visible in his breast pocket. Have you ever been treated like a threat simply for existing in a space where someone decided you did not belong? This is one of those real-life stories that exposes what happens when quiet power meets blatant discrimination. A black story that changed an entire system. Marcus had flown this route many times. The same terminals, the same gates, the same purpose. Work that required precision, discretion, and frequent travel. Today marked yet another time Agent Hawkins had randomly selected him. Marcus kept a detailed log on his phone. Dates, times, agent names, badge numbers, every interaction documented with the methodical care of someone who understood that patterns told stories louder than single incidents. The statistical anomaly was clear. Their paths crossed too often to be coincidence. Marcus had filed an informal complaint with a TSA supervisor some time ago. It went nowhere. Now the pattern was repeating. Dale pulled Marcus's laptop from his bag with unnecessary force. He flipped through notebooks, held up each item for inspection. His colleague, a younger agent with nervous eyes, watched but said nothing. "You know how these people are," Dale said to his colleague. The whisper carried. Marcus heard every word. "Designer clothes, but you never know what they're hiding." Dale made Marcus remove his belt, shoes, jacket, then questioned why he was overdressed. Dale's tone dripped with skepticism. Sure. A young black woman in her late 20s stood in the security line some distance away. She pulled out her phone. The camera angled discreetly toward the screening area. Her thumb moved across the screen. Tweet sent. Another passenger approached the metal detector, a white businessman, mid-50s, laptop still in his bag. Dale waved him through without a word. Marcus's belongings lay spread across the inspection table. His first-class ticket. The leather portfolio contained briefing documents with classified markings visible at the edges. His phone buzzed, an encrypted message notification, the sound distinctive. Government issued. A business card had fallen from his wallet during the inspection. It landed face up on the gray table. Marcus J. Brooks, Senior Policy Advisor, Department of Homeland Security, Office of the Secretary. Dale was too focused on the performance to notice. "You're going to miss your flight at this rate," Dale said, satisfaction in his voice. "Should have arrived earlier. Poor planning." Marcus kept his voice level. "I've made this flight many times. I know exactly how much time I need." Dale's eyes narrowed. "Maybe you should fly different airlines. Some people just attract attention." The young woman's tweet went live. An 18-second video clip. The caption read, "TSA agent at ATL Terminal T targeting black passenger for another scan while others walk through. Badge number visible. This is #FlyingWhileBlack." It spread quickly with many retweets and likes. A local news monitor picked it up. Marcus stood in the scanner again, arms raised, eyes closed. He had learned long ago that visible frustration only made these situations worse. Dignity required discipline. Dale's supervisor, Rachel Martinez, approached with her phone in hand, her face showing concern. She had seen the tweet, the video, the badge number clearly visible. Rachel pulled Dale aside, her voice low but firm. "What's going on here? This passenger has been through multiple times." Dale turned defensive immediately. "Random selection. It's protocol. I don't have to explain my security decisions." "His boarding pass shows first class," Rachel said. "He's cleared multiple times already." "Let him through." Dale straightened his shoulders. "I have discretion for security threats." Something feels off about this one. I'm not rushing because someone's impatient. Marcus submitted to another inspection, silent, professional. His phone buzzed again. The encrypted message read, "Office of the Secretary. Urgent. Respond immediately." He could not with Dale's hands checking his waistband. The security line had backed up, dozens of passengers now watching, some with sympathy, others with irritation at the delay. An elderly white couple shook their heads. Business travelers checked their watches. One white passenger in his late 50s muttered, just loud enough to hear, "Just cooperate and it goes faster." A man with a camera approached, a freelance news stringer who monitored social media for local stories. He positioned himself nearby and started recording. Dale performed the pat-down with exaggerated slowness. He checked Marcus's waistband twice, questioned him about a bulge in his jacket, the classified portfolio. "Sir, I'm going to need to inspect that leather case." Marcus spoke carefully, each word chosen with precision. "That case contains sensitive federal documents, classified. If you open it without proper clearance, you'll violate Title 18, United States Code Section 793. Dale sneered. "Federal documents, right? And I'm the president." He reached for the portfolio. An airport police officer had been watching. Officer Jamal Carter. He recognized Marcus from previous trips. Professional courtesy between federal employees. He walked closer. Marcus's phone rang. The ringtone was distinctive, a government alert tone that signaled priority communications. Dale held up his hand. "No phone calls during screening." "It's the DHS Secretary's office," Marcus said quietly. "I'm expected at a classified briefing." Dale's laugh was short and sharp. "Sure you are. Everyone's important. Everyone's got big meetings. Phone away." Officer Carter stepped forward. "Agent Hawkins, maybe we should—" Dale cut him off. "I've got this under control. Security protocols supersede appointments." He turned back to Marcus. "I'm going to need to do a full bag search. Step over here, sir." The tweet was now trending locally. A local ABC affiliate had requested an interview with the woman who filmed it. Rachel's phone rang. The caller ID showed TSA Regional Director. These touching stories about discrimination always reach a tipping point, the moment when individual injustice becomes public reckoning. This moment had arrived. Marcus's carry-on roller stood on the inspection table. Black, pristine, the kind of luggage that survived hundreds of flights. Dale unzipped it with theatrical flair. The contents were organized with military precision. Folded dress shirts, toiletries in a clear bag, laptop accessories bundled with Velcro straps, everything a frequent business traveler needed. Dale pulled items out one by one, placed them on the table, his movements deliberately slow. Rachel stood nearby, phone pressed to her ear. The regional director was asking pointed questions about the badge number, about a viral video, about why a passenger had been screened multiple times. Marcus watched Dale handle his belongings. He had learned patience in situations like this. Patience and documentation. His phone screen showed the encrypted message still waiting. The DHS Secretary's office did not send urgent alerts lightly. Dale found the item he had been fishing for, a laminated credential holder. He opened it. Inside was Marcus's full DHS identification, photo ID with a security hologram, official seal of the Department of Homeland Security, and stamped in red ink. Tier 1 clearance. Dale barely glanced at it. "Could be fake. We've seen forgeries before, you." The crowd had grown larger. More passengers backed up in the security line, more witnesses. The news stringer had moved closer, camera steady. Marcus made eye contact with Dale. His voice remained quiet, but the words carried weight. "I'm going to give you one opportunity to end this professionally. Return my belongings. Apologize for the delay. I'll miss my flight, but I'll file no formal complaint." Dale's smirk widened. "I decide when you're cleared, not you, not your fake credentials. Me." Officer Carter radioed for supervisor backup. His voice was careful. "Coded Terminal T, screening area. Request additional supervisory presence. Federal credentials involved. Marcus had been publicly humiliated, documented on video, late for a classified briefing, facing a TSA agent who refused to recognize obvious federal identification. He had given Dale a professional exit. Dale had refused it. Marcus pulled out his phone, opened an encrypted application. The interface was minimal. Government software prioritized function over design. He typed 4 words into the message field. Delta 7 code red ATL. He pressed send. The message was delivered instantly to a contact listed only as Secretary Elena Morales, Office of the DHS Secretary. Moments passed. Marcus repacked his belongings methodically, folded each shirt, replaced each item exactly as it had been. Dale watched, arms crossed, satisfied with his authority. Then Rachel's phone rang again, different ringtone. She looked at the caller ID and her face went pale. DHS Office of Security Coordination appeared on the screen. She answered, listened, said, "Yes, sir," 3 times, ended the call. The airport PA system crackled to life. TSA Supervisor Martinez to Terminal T Security Office immediately. TSA Supervisor Martinez to Terminal T Security Office. Officer Carter's radio came alive. The dispatcher's voice was formal, urgent. All units, federal authority present in Terminal T. All units. Stand by for further instructions. Dale continued watching Marcus pack. He did not understand the shift happening around him. He did not see Rachel's expression. He did not hear the radio traffic. The Terminal T Security Office door, a gray metal door marked TSA Personnel Only, opened. A man emerged, moving fast. TSA Federal Security Director David Park. Behind him, 2 men in dark suits. Federal Protective Service agents, their credentials visible on their belts. David scanned the screening area, spotted Rachel, walked directly to her. "Where is Senior Policy Advisor Brooks?" Rachel pointed. Her hand trembled slightly. David's gaze followed her finger to Marcus, then to Dale, then to the inspection table with Marcus's belongings still spread across it. David approached with purpose. "Agent Hawkins, step away from the passenger." Dale looked up, recognized David's Federal Security Director badge. Confusion crossed his face. "Sir, I'm conducting a routine security screening on—" David's voice was steel. "You're detaining a senior policy advisor to the Secretary of Homeland Security. Step away from the passenger now." The crowd went completely silent. Dozens of passengers watching, news camera recording, Twitter video still streaming. Marcus stood, brushed off his jacket with slow, deliberate movements. He reached into his breast pocket and pulled out a leather credential holder, the same one Dale had dismissed as fake. Marcus opened it fully, held it so David could see, then turned it so the crowd could see. The DHS identification was unmistakable. The Tier 1 clearance stamp. The Office of the Secretary seal embossed in gold. Marcus's voice was calm, professional, the voice of someone used to classified briefings and federal authority. "Director Park, I missed my flight due to extended screening. I'll need the Secretary's office to reschedule the Safety Act briefing." David nodded once, then turned to Dale. "Badge and radio right now." Dale's face drained of color. He did not identify himself properly. "There are procedures for your badge and radio," David repeated. "This is not a discussion." Dale's hand shook as he unclipped his badge, handed over his radio. Years of TSA service, commendations for security vigilance, all of it collapsing in seconds. Marcus spoke directly to David. "Director, I need the surveillance footage from the screening this morning, all angles, and I need Agent Hawkins' screening logs for the past period." David gestured to the FPS agents. "Pull everything, full audit. I want every screening decision Hawkins made flagged for review." Dale found his voice. "This is a misunderstanding. I was following established protocol for suspicious behavior." Marcus finally addressed Dale directly. He looked the agent in the eyes. Agent Hawkins, this is not the first time you've randomly selected me. I documented every instance, dates, times, your exact comments. Marcus paused. Let the words settle, but here's what you did not know. The terminal seemed to hold its breath. I'm not just a policy advisor, Marcus continued. I'm the lead author of the DHS Office of Civil Rights Comprehensive Review on discriminatory screening practices at TSA checkpoints nationwide. The silence was absolute. Marcus took a step forward. For the past period, I've been flying routes across multiple airports, testing TSA, screening equity, documenting patterns, building case files. Atlanta Terminal T was flagged as a potential discrimination hotspot. You just provided conclusive evidence. Dale backed away, looked to Rachel for support. She would not meet his eyes. Officer Carter stepped forward. Director Park, I've observed Agent Hawkins target Black and Latino passengers disproportionately over time. I filed internal reports. Both were dismissed by terminal management. Marcus nodded. Those reports are now part of my case file. Officer Carter, thank you for your integrity. The news stringer's camera captured everything. The tweet had reached many retweets. Local news was already preparing the story. Marcus picked up his bag, walked past Dale without another word. The real reckoning was just beginning. Later, Marcus sat in a government sedan pulling up to the DHS Federal Building in Washington, D.C. He had made a later flight after David Park personally escorted him through expedited security. First-class seat, coffee he did not drink. Time to prepare his presentation. The building rose stories high, gray concrete and dark glass. Security checkpoints, reinforced doors, the architecture of power. Marcus entered through the executive entrance. Secure conference room, the kind of room where policies were written and careers were ended. He was the last to arrive. Secretary Elena Morales sat at the head of the table. Reform-focused, known for the data-driven decisions and low tolerance for civil rights violations, she had built her reputation on accountability. Around the table, TSA Administrator Thomas Rhodes, a career bureaucrat who looked uncomfortable. Denise Park, TSA Office of Civil Rights Director, taking notes on a tablet. Two attorneys from DHS Legal Counsel. And on the wall monitor, via video conference, David Park calling in from Atlanta. Marcus set his leather portfolio on the table, connected his tablet to the room's display system. The DHS seal appeared on the wall monitor. Secretary Morales spoke first. Mr. Brooks, I received your Delta 7 alert. Give us the summary. Marcus stood. He had given hundreds of briefings in rooms like this. This one mattered more than most. Madam Secretary, members of the review board, what happened this morning at Atlanta Hartsfield-Jackson was not an isolated incident. It was a data point. The final data point in a field study documenting discriminatory screening practices across major airports. He clicked to the first slide. A map of the United States with airports highlighted in red. The study involved many flights, multiple undercover federal employees of color. The objective was to test whether TSA screening practices comply with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Administrator Rhodes shifted in his chair. He knew where this was going. Marcus advanced to the next slide. Statistical charts, bar graphs, red lines showing deviation from baseline demographics. Atlanta Hartsfield-Jackson Terminal T showed a much higher secondary screening rate for Black passengers versus baseline demographics. That's not a margin of error, that's a pattern. Secretary Morales leaned forward. Continue. Agent Dale Hawkins personally screened many more Black passengers for secondary review, a significant disparity rate. Marcus let the number hang in the air. This morning was another interaction with Agent Hawkins. Each one documented, each one following the same pattern. He clicked to the next slide. Video footage, separate clips compiled into a single montage. Each showed Dale Hawkins interacting with passengers of color. The comments were audible. You know how these people are. Some people just attract attention. Maybe you should fly different airlines. The room watched in silence. The attorneys took notes. Denise Park's expression was grim. Marcus advanced through more slides. Statistical analysis comparing Hawkins's screening rate to the terminal average, then to the national average. The disparity was undeniable. Another slide showed complaint reports filed against Hawkins over years, all dismissed by local supervisors, all marked unfounded or insufficient evidence. The final video slide showed Officer Carter's internal reports. Official TSA forms, flagged for review, never actioned, filed, and forgotten. Secretary Morales turned to Administrator Rhodes. "Explain to me how so many complaints were dismissed without investigation." Rhodes cleared his throat. "Madam Secretary, TSA processes thousands of complaints monthly. Supervisors have discretion in determining which warrant full investigation. It's a resource allocation." Morales cut him off. "Resource allocation that enabled a significant racial disparity rate. Mr. Brooks, continue." Marcus clicked to a new section, Legal Citations, Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, 42 United States Code Section 2000D, states clearly, "No person shall, on ground of race, be excluded from participation in, be denied benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any program receiving federal financial assistance." He paused, made eye contact with Rhodes. "TSA receives billions annually in federal funding. This isn't just policy failure, it's a statutory violation." One of the attorneys spoke up. "Mr. Brooks, do you believe this rises to the level of a Justice Department referral?" "I believe it rises to the level of immediate systemic reform," Marcus replied, "which is why my next slide outlines recommended changes." The screen changed. Bullet points appeared. Reform 1, immediate suspension without pay for Agent Hawkins, pending a full Office of Inspector General investigation. Reform 2, mandatory implicit bias retraining for all TSA agents at Atlanta Terminal T. Reform 3, implementation of real-time screening data, monitoring software across all major airports. The system will track screening demographics, flag disparity patterns, and alert supervisors when thresholds are exceeded. Denise Park looked up from her notes. "What threshold are you proposing?" "Deviation from baseline demographics triggers an automated alert. Higher deviation triggers immediate supervisor intervention. Anything above that triggers Office of Civil Rights Review." Marcus moved to the next point. Reform 4, establishment of independent civil rights officer positions at each major airport. These officers report directly to the DHS Office of Civil Rights, bypassing local TSA management. They have authority to intervene in screenings in real time. Reform 5, quarterly audits of screening demographics. Results publicly reported on TSA.gov. Full transparency. Reform 6, enhanced whistleblower protections for TSA officers who report discrimination, anti-retaliation policies with teeth. Officers like Carter should not have their reports ignored. Secretary Morales studied the screen. Administrator Rhodes, these reforms will be implemented. Non-negotiable. Rhodes shifted forward. "Madam Secretary, the logistics alone would require significant budget reallocation. The software development, the training programs, the new positions. You have a large budget and many employees," Morales said. Her voice was calm but absolute. "Prioritize it," Marcus added quietly. "The alternative is a formal IG investigation, congressional testimony, and likely Justice Department Civil Rights Division review. Implementation is the more efficient path." The legal counsel nodded. "All recommended actions fall within the Secretary's authority under the TSA enabling statute. We can move forward immediately." David Park spoke from the video screen. "Madam Secretary, I've already initiated the suspension process for Agent Hawkins. Security clearance revoked. He's been escorted from the terminal." What about Supervisor Martinez? Morales asked. Formal reprimand, demotion from supervisory role, mandatory retraining. She failed to intervene despite having authority and awareness of the situation. Marcus closed his presentation. The full report is in your secure folders. Every flight documented, every interaction recorded, statistical analysis, legal framework, implementation timeline, budget estimates. Secretary Morales stood. Everyone else followed. Mr. Brooks, your work on this has been exemplary, the kind of patient-documented investigation that creates real change. She turned to the room. I want implementation plans on my desk soon. Administrator Rhodes, you'll personally oversee the Atlanta Terminal T reforms. Consider it a test case. Rhodes nodded stiffly. Officer Carter will receive a commendation. His reports will be used as case studies in the new training curriculum. Morales looked at Marcus. Anything else? One thing, Marcus said. Agent Hawkins believed he was protecting travelers. He's not a monster. He's a person who never confronted his own bias, never received proper training, never faced accountability. The system failed him as much as he failed passengers. The room was quiet. I don't want revenge, Marcus continued. I want reform. I want the next black traveler through Terminal T to be treated with dignity. I want Officer Carter's courage to be rewarded, not punished. I want the system to work. Secretary Morales smiled slightly. Which is exactly why you're the right person to lead this office. Consider this your official promotion. Deputy Assistant Secretary, Office of Civil Rights and Civil Liberties. Your first assignment, oversee implementation of every reform you just proposed. Marcus had walked into a conference room as a policy advisor. He was walking out as a Deputy Assistant Secretary with direct authority to reshape TSA screening practices nationwide. Sometimes power is not loud. Sometimes it is a thorough investigation, a leather portfolio full of evidence, and the quiet determination to document every single injustice until the pattern becomes undeniable. Real-life stories about change rarely happen overnight, but when they do happen, they happen completely. The reforms moved faster than anyone expected. Secretary Morales did not wait for committee approvals or budget reconciliation. She used emergency authority granted under Homeland Security statutes. When civil rights violations are documented, federal agencies can act immediately. Implementation began. Marcus returned to Atlanta, not as a passenger this time, as Deputy Assistant Secretary with a mandate to rebuild Terminal T from the ground up. He walked through the same security checkpoint where Dale Hawkins had detained him. The screening area looked the same. Gray tables, metal detectors, body scanners, but the atmosphere had shifted. Every TSA agent in Terminal T had received notification of mandatory retraining. The sessions would begin soon. Attendance was non-negotiable. The curriculum had been developed in partnership with civil rights researchers at Yale University. Hours of evidence-based instruction on implicit bias, de-escalation, and dignified screening practices. Marcus met with David Park in the Terminal T administrative office. The room was functional, not comfortable. Government furniture, fluorescent lighting, a wall of monitors showing security camera feeds. The real-time monitoring system is in beta testing, David said, pulling up software on his desktop. Tech contractor delivered ahead of schedule. The screen showed a dashboard, live data streaming from every checkpoint in Terminal T. Passenger demographics self-reported. Optional, tracked against screening decisions. Bar graphs updated in real time. When disparity rates exceeded the threshold, the graph turned yellow. At higher deviation, red. The system flags agent-specific patterns, David explained. If one agent shows consistent disparity, it triggers supervisor review. If multiple agents show patterns, it triggers facility-wide audit. Marcus studied the data. How many agents are we tracking? All of them. Every TSA officer in this terminal. The system went live recently. We've already identified agents with concerning patterns. They're being reassigned to non-screening roles pending additional training. And the civil rights officer position, Interviews start soon. We're prioritizing candidates with civil rights backgrounds, legal training, community organizing experience, people who understand power dynamics and are not afraid to intervene. Marcus clicked through the dashboard screens. What about transparency? Public reporting? David pulled up another window. TSA.gov will host the Screening Equity Dashboard, updated monthly. Anyone can see airport-by-airport statistics, secondary screening rates by demographics, complaint resolution data, training completion percentages. We launch it soon. It was more than Marcus had hoped for. Government agencies moved slowly, but when the secretary herself demanded action, bureaucracy found a way. The door opened. Officer Jamal Carter entered in full uniform. He looked uncertain, like he was not sure why he had been summoned. Marcus stood, extended his hand. "Officer Carter, thank you for coming." Jamal shook his hand cautiously. "Sir, I'm not sure what this is about." "It's about recognition," Marcus said. "Your internal reports on discriminatory screening were ignored. You documented problems. You reported through proper channels. You did everything right. The system failed you." Jamal's shoulders relaxed slightly. "You're being promoted," David said. "TSA Civil Rights Liaison for Atlanta Hartsfield-Jackson. You'll work directly with the new civil rights officer. Your job is to identify problems, intervene when necessary, and ensure that reports like yours are never ignored again." Jamal looked between them. "I don't understand. I just filed reports, did my job." "Exactly," Marcus said. "You did your job when it was easier to stay silent. That's courage. That's integrity. And that's exactly what this airport needs in a civil rights liaison." Jamal nodded slowly. "What about Agent Hawkins? What happens to him?" Marcus had been expecting that question. "He was suspended without pay. The OIG investigation concluded. The findings were clear. Pattern of discriminatory enforcement inconsistent with TSA values and federal law. So he's fired." "Not exactly." Marcus pulled out a folder. "Official personnel decision. He's being reassigned. Desk duty at TSA headquarters. Non-passenger-facing administrative work. His security clearance is permanently revoked. He'll work there until retirement eligibility." Jamal frowned. "That seems light for what he did." "His behavior did not meet the threshold for criminal charges," Marcus explained. "Civil rights violation, yes, but not prosecutable. However, his federal personnel file now carries a permanent flag. He'll never work in security screening again, never have access to passengers, never have the authority to target anyone." David added. He also released a public statement, apologized, acknowledged his bias, said he hopes his case serves as a lesson. Marcus had read the statement. It was lawyer-written, carefully worded, but it was public. Dale Hawkins's name was now permanently associated with discrimination. That carried its own consequences. "What about Supervisor Martinez?" Jamal asked. "Demoted, mandatory retraining, probation. But here's the important part. She's staying. She volunteered for additional civil rights training beyond what's required. She wants to mentor new supervisors on intervention protocols." Marcus had spoken with Rachel himself. She had been shaken by the incident, regretted her calculation to let Dale continue, realized she had prioritized workplace harmony over passenger rights. People could learn, people could change. The system had to allow for that. Over the following period, the reforms took shape. The equity screening analytics software was installed at multiple airports. Pilot program. Early data showed a significant reduction in screening disparities at monitored checkpoints. Agents knew they were being tracked. Behavior changed. Many airports received funding for independent civil rights officers from existing TSA budget. The officers had real authority. They could halt screenings, override agent decisions, launch immediate investigations, and they reported directly to DHS Office of Civil Rights, bypassing local management entirely. The training program rolled out nationwide. Many TSA agents, mandatory curriculum, Case studies included Marcus's experience, anonymized but detailed. Agents watched the video, analyzed Dale's decisions, discussed alternative approaches, learned the statistical impact of bias. Most agents completed training. The remaining were placed on administrative leave until completion. The Whistleblower Protection Program launched with a dedicated hotline and encrypted reporting app. Reports were filed. Some led to investigations. Some resulted in disciplinary actions. No reports of retaliation. The public dashboard went live. It received many views. Pew Research conducted a survey. Public trust in TSA increased among Black travelers. Not enough, but movement in the right direction. Marcus traveled to airports across the country, met with agents, listened to concerns, explained the reforms. Most agents were receptive. They wanted clear guidelines, wanted to do their jobs without perpetuating discrimination, wanted accountability systems that protected good officers and identified problematic ones. Some agents resisted, called the reforms political correctness, said they were being hamstrung by bureaucracy. Marcus listened to those concerns too, explained that dignified screening and security were not opposing goals, showed them the data. Bias did not make anyone safer. It alienated communities, created distrust, made actual threats harder to identify. Marcus testified before the House Homeland Security Committee, Congressional Oversight Hearing on TSA screening practices. The committee room was formal. High ceilings, marble, cameras, representatives from both parties asking questions. Marcus presented the data, the reforms, the results. He talked about Officer Carter's courage, about Rachel Martinez's transformation, about the thousands of TSA agents who embraced the new training. He also talked about Dale Hawkins. Agent Hawkins' case is not about one bad actor, Marcus told the committee. It's about structures that allowed bias to flourish unchecked for years, complaints dismissed, internal reports ignored, a system that rewarded seniority over accountability. A representative asked, "What assurance do we have this won't happen again?" Marcus answered carefully, "No system is perfect. Bias exists. It will always exist. But we can build systems that catch it early, that intervene quickly, that prioritize dignity and security equally. That's what these reforms do." Another representative followed up. "Some critics say these reforms burden TSA agents with excessive monitoring. How do you respond?" "I respond with data," Marcus said. "Screening times have not increased. Security effectiveness has not decreased. And complaints about discriminatory screening have dropped at monitored airports. Good agents welcome accountability. It protects them as much as it protects passengers." The hearing lasted hours. When it ended, the committee voted to expand the reforms nationwide. Full funding, permanent authorization. Marcus left the Capitol building as the sun set over Washington, D.C. His phone buzzed. Message from Secretary Morales. "Well done. The work continues." It always did. Civil rights were not won in single moments. They were built through patient documentation, systemic reform, and the quiet determination to make power accountable. Black stories about justice were not always loud. Sometimes they were leather portfolios full of evidence. Sometimes they were thorough flights and careful notes. Sometimes they were one person deciding that dignity mattered more than convenience. Sometimes they changed everything. Sometime into the reforms, Marcus received an unexpected email. The sender, Dale Hawkins, personal email address, subject line, "Request for conversation." Marcus stared at the message for several minutes before opening it. The email was brief. Dale asked if Marcus would be willing to meet, said he understood if the answer was no, said he had things he needed to say that could not be written in a statement drafted by lawyers. Marcus forwarded the email to Secretary Morales, asked for guidance. Her response came, "Your decision, but if you meet him, you might learn something valuable about how people change or don't." Marcus agreed to meet. Not in an office, not in a formal setting, a coffee shop near TSA headquarters. Public, neutral. Dale arrived early. He looked different, thinner, older. The confidence that had defined him in the terminal was gone. They sat across from each other, coffee neither of them drank cooling on the table. Dale spoke first. "I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just needed you to hear this directly from me, not through lawyers or PR statements." Marcus waited. "I spent years believing I was good at my job," Dale continued. "I had commendations, positive reviews. I thought I was protecting people. I thought my instincts were sound." He paused. "I was wrong. My instincts were biased, and I never questioned them because the system never made me." "You questioned my credentials," Marcus said quietly, "looked right at my DHS identification and called it fake." Dale nodded. "I saw what I expected to see. A black man in a nice suit who I decided did not belong. I created a narrative in my head and ignored everything that contradicted it. That's not security work, that's discrimination." Marcus studied him. "What changed?" "The training." Dale laughed bitterly. "I went in thinking it would be political correctness nonsense. Sat through the first session angry, but then they showed the data. My data. My screening decisions compared to everyone else's. Significant disparity. I could not argue with numbers." "Numbers don't lie," Marcus said. "They showed the video, too, of me, of what I said to you, how I treated you." Dale's voice dropped. "I watched myself on that screen, and I did not recognize the person I saw, or maybe I recognized him too well. That's what scared me." Marcus let the silence sit between them. "My daughter is engaged to a black man," Dale said finally. "Good guy, engineer, kind. When all this happened, she called me, asked me if I'd treated her fiancé the way I treated you. I said no, but I don't know if that's true. I don't know how many people I've hurt without even realizing it." "So what now?" Marcus asked. "Now I do desk work, file reports, process paperwork. I'll never screen passengers again, never carry a badge with authority, and that's appropriate." Dale met Marcus's eyes. "But I also volunteer at a community center in my neighborhood. Help kids with homework. Lot of black kids, Latino kids, kids who look at people in authority with suspicion because people in authority have given them reason to." Marcus raised his eyebrows. "That's not what I expected. I can't undo what I did. Can't give you back the time I stole or the dignity I took, but I can try to be different going forward. My therapist says that's all anyone can do. Acknowledge harm, make amends where possible, do better. You're in therapy. Court mandated after the investigation. Best thing that could have happened to me." Dale pulled out his phone, showed Marcus a photo. Young black children at desks. Dale helping a girl with a math problem. "That's the kid, not you, named after Marcus Garvey. Smart as hell, wants to be an aerospace engineer." Marcus looked at the photo. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because I need you to know I heard you. Not just your words in that terminal, your testimony, your reforms. The idea that people can be more than their worst moment if the system gives them a chance to be." They sat in silence. Marcus thought about power, about accountability, about the difference between punishment and transformation. "I don't forgive you," Marcus said finally. "I'm not required to. You hurt me. You hurt hundreds of passengers. You represent a system that has brutalized black people for generations." Dale nodded. "I understand. But I believe people can change if they do the work, if they face what they've done, if they accept consequences and try to repair harm." Marcus stood. "Keep volunteering, keep learning, keep being uncomfortable. That's the work." Dale stood too. "Thank you for meeting with me." "Don't thank me. Thank Officer Carter. Thank the woman who filmed you. Thank every person who spoke up when it was easier to stay silent. They're the reason the system changed." Marcus left the coffee shop. He did not know if Dale would sustain the work of transformation. People often made promises in the immediate aftermath of consequences. The real test was whether change became permanent or faded when attention moved elsewhere. But Marcus had built a system that did not rely on individual transformation. It relied on monitoring, accountability, data, transparency, a system where Dale Hawkins could not harm passengers even if he wanted to. Rachel Martinez had completed her probation. She now led training sessions for new supervisors, taught them how to intervene, how to prioritize civil rights over workplace politics, how to recognize when an agent had crossed from security screening into discrimination. She had turned her failure into expertise, used her experience to prevent others from making the same calculation she had. Officer Carter had become one of the most respected civil rights liaisons in the TSA. Other airports requested his guidance. He helped develop best practices, mentored new liaisons. His reports had become foundational documents in TSA civil rights training. The system was changing slowly, imperfectly, but measurably. Marcus had learned something important. Individual villains were easy to identify. Dale Hawkins was a villain in that terminal, but he was also a product of a system that never required him to examine his biases, never held him accountable, never gave him tools to do better. Real reform targeted the system, not just the person. It built structures that caught discrimination early, that protected whistleblowers, that made dignity non-negotiable. That was the work. That had always been the work. Later, Marcus stood in the Atlanta airport again. Different terminal, different checkpoint, different agents. He carried the same leather portfolio, same government-issued phone, same first-class ticket to Washington, D.C. The TSA agent checked his ID, smiled professionally, waved him through the metal detector. No secondary screening. No questions about his destination. No performative pat-downs. Marcus moved through security quickly. He walked to his gate and pulled out his phone, opened the screening equity dashboard. The public website had become his morning ritual. He checked the data the way some people checked weather. Atlanta Hartsfield Jackson secondary screening disparities down significantly from baseline. Agent training compliance high. Civil rights officer interventions resolved quickly. No retaliation reports. The numbers told a story, not a perfect story. Discrimination had not been eliminated. Bias still existed, but it was being caught, being addressed, being taken seriously. Marcus scrolled through comments on the dashboard, passengers sharing their experiences, some positive, some still reporting problems. Each comment was reviewed by civil rights officers. Each problem triggered investigation. His flight boarded. He took his seat in first class, opened his laptop, started drafting the next phase of reforms. The work expanded beyond airports. Now, Customs and Border Protection had requested similar monitoring systems. Immigration and Customs Enforcement wanted the training curriculum. The Secret Service was studying the whistleblower protection model. One investigation, one morning of documented discrimination, one person who refused to accept that dignity was negotiable. It had rippled outward in ways Marcus could not have predicted. He thought about Dale Hawkins at a community center, Rachel Martinez training supervisors, Officer Carter mentoring new liaisons. People were more complicated than their worst moments. Systems had to account for both accountability and transformation. The plane took off. Marcus looked out the window at Atlanta disappearing below. He thought about all the black travelers who would move through Terminal T today, this week, this year. How many would be treated with dignity because systems had changed? How many would never know his name but would benefit from his patient documentation? That was the point. Justice was not about individual recognition. It was about systemic change that outlasted any single person. Marcus closed his laptop, allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. The work would never be finished. There would always be another Dale Hawkins, another ignored report, another pattern of discrimination waiting to be documented. But today the system was better than it had been before. Today whistleblowers had protection. Today data caught disparities before they became endemic. Today passengers had recourse. Today was better than yesterday. Tomorrow would be better than today. That was the work. These real-life stories, these touching stories about black people using intelligence and evidence to dismantle discrimination, they matter. They show what is possible when documentation meets determination. When power is used not for revenge, but for reform. When one person's humiliation becomes catalyst for systemic change. Marcus Brooks's story is not unique. It is one of thousands, but it demonstrates a truth. You are not powerless. Documentation is protection. Evidence is leverage. And sometimes the person they underestimate is exactly the person who can change everything. If you have witnessed discrimination in airports, workplaces, or any public space, share your story in the comments below. Your experience matters. Your voice matters. Subscribe for more stories about justice, about quiet power overcoming systemic injustice, about people who fought back not with violence or wealth, but with intelligence, patience, and moral courage. Share this video with someone who needs to know. Dignity is not negotiable and change is possible. What would you have done in Marcus's position? Let us know below.